Hello and welcome back to the 2017 uLoL Campus Series. I'm Tom Serafos, and joining me once again this week on the desk is Mark Zimmerman.
Yeah, happy to be back. Any day without Dash next to me is a good day.
Well, I'm glad to be your solace away from Dash.
It's not so much you as his lack of presence that I'm really excited about. Anyways, let's review the tournament structure. We've separated all the teams into 4 regions and divided each of those regions into groups of 6. Teams play within their group, and the top 2 teams from each group advance to our single elimination playoffs.
That's right. So why don't we take a look at the upcoming schedule, because not only do we have a match this week, but we could also preview next week's match. This week we're going with UT as they take on UNC, and we've got Harvard versus RIT coming up next week.
I went to RIT.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, it was all right.
Now I do. So why don't we take a look at today's matchup, though, because that one's coming up right now. UT versus UNC. Now, Texas was ranked 37th coming into the season, and although it wasn't cracking that top 25 we had last week, it's still far ahead of the 65th ranked UNC.
And UNC did win last week's game versus Louisiana 2-0, but they didn't make the round of 32 last year, so it'll be interesting to see what they're able to do.
Yeah, and facing off against them, we have, of course, the University of Texas, who also beat their opponents last week at Tennessee 2-0. Texas made it to the playoffs in 2016, but they were defeated by their arch rivals at Texas A&M. It was a 3-1 series. They're going to be looking to see if they can kind of come back to those playoffs and wind up winning the South this time around.
Right, and Texas is historically a strong team because they have one of the biggest esports clubs in the country, so it's going to be pretty tough for UNC to beat them here today.
Yeah, so why don't we just jump into it and look at the starting lineups? Why don't we start off with the University of Texas?
Right, so in the top lane we have 50 Shades of Kappa. The jungle is Cute Minky. Top lane, or mid lane continuing the Pokemon train is Primeape, 80 carry, Railgun, and support perfect.
And across the rift, we have UNC. In the top lane, it's Ackerman, but not the one you're thinking of. Jungle, Theo Pinson. Mid lane is Eugen. ADC is PM Me, Rare Pepes. Maybe me, but mostly him. And their support is Lord Apollos.
All right, well, why don't we get into the picks and bans and not think too much about the Pepes you want?
Yeah, that's true. I don't really have a big rare collection. I just have your common Pepes. No holographic ones.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
No epics, no legendaries?
No epics, no legendary Pepes. However, we are going to have a very epic draft phase starting off this best of 3 series, where, of course, we kind of need to keep in mind that being on the red side and being in the 6-ban system, you kind of have like those OP characters that you're looking to really ban out.
Right, in the 10-ban system, you could argue the red side has a little bit of a priority because they're able to get the counter pick with the bans, but in the 6-ban system, not so much. They're just kind of stuck with the most OP bans and having to deal with those. So we see usually the Camille, Rengar, LeBlanc, but it looks like University of Texas on blue side has actually banned the Rengar themselves.
Yeah, and that's very interesting because that's kind of a signal of the fact that Cute Mankey can't play it, or he's not willing to play it, or is not feeling comfortable about it. So that's kind of a signal to UNC where if they get blue side next game, they could potentially leave that open. But in this draft phase, they've also banned out the Syndra, which has kind of been a power pick in the mid lane for a while.
Right, and it looks like they are kind of targeting a lot of power picks on the blue side, where sometimes you see them leaving more up, but it looks like they don't want to end up in a weird trade situation. So with the Syndra gone, that opens up a lot more of the other control mages like the Ryze, Ori, Cassio. It just gives them a lot easier matchups. The LeBlanc ban coming in for University of North Carolina is not a surprise. We also see pretty quickly the Janna and Malzahar bans coming in, 2 supports. The Janna a little surprising because it's not really prioritized right now.
Yeah, this definitely should be some sort of a target ban against Lord Apollos, potentially something they just don't want to have to deal with. Janna, of course, pretty much a very passive laning phase, very safe laning phase. And if you want to get super aggressive, which when we were kind of looking over what the teams, and we asked him a couple of questions, sent them back. Perfect just basically said he wants to win lane and then win the game. Yeah,
and we see the first pick Darius. That is a very ballsy move.
That is not something you see every day. The Darius to a blind pick situation is fairly counterable, if not very much, not a very safe pick overall. And it's not exactly something you normally see played, let alone pick first.
And on the other side, we see University of North Carolina grabbing the Poppy, a safe tank matchup into the Darius. Hopefully, I'm not sure how it'll go because Darius actually does pretty well against a lot of tanks, being able to get the true damage at level 6, bypassing what they want to do, which is stack resist and health. We also see, like I said, the Hecarim, a very strong carry jungler. It's not been seeing too much play in the competitive scene yet, but something that has been terrorizing a lot of people in solo queue.
Yeah, and something that has also been terrorizing not only solo queue, but the competitive scene is the Ryze that was left open in this pick and ban phase. With the Malzahar and the Janna and the Syndra being those bans, that left one of those OP pickups here, and that is the Ryze that's going to be picking up here by Primeape in the mid lane.
Yeah, and we also see the Zac. A little surprising to see these guys going to such unorthodox tier 2 jungle picks with the Rengar being the only ban. You think a Kha'Zix, a Lee Sin, a Rek'Sai would be on the table, but these guys are totally bypassing that, going for other things. We also see the TF and the Caitlyn coming in for University of North Carolina.
Yeah, and UNC actually, previously we did the uLoL rivalry series where UNC faced off against Duke in their own rivalry, and Eugen playing the Twisted Fate was a very highly sought after pick from their side. So this is something he's extremely comfortable on, so if he's going to be going against one of those powerful pickups in the mid lane, comfort seems to be what they're prioritizing.
And we see the Ashe Zyra bot lane come out for University of Texas, one of the staple bot lanes in the meta right now, pretty much does it all, has good push, good late game, good scaling, good engage, good damage, zone control, everything you'd ever want out of a bot lane. And on the flip side, we see the last pick, Karma, one of the safest laners in a sense, able to shield, speed people away from any kind of threats that are coming at them, as well as has good poke.
It was kind of like the better option to Janna in that case, and the fact that you can provide more of an offensive kind of bottom lane, but also provide all the sort of defensive capabilities that you would like. So while we're recapping this draft phase, why don't we throw up the entire draft onto your screens so you can see exactly how things panned out. And Mark, I kind of want to get your opinion on this, as we always do. Who do you think got the better end of this draft?
I gotta go with North Carolina. Their draft makes a lot more sense to me in terms of what they want to do. The TF can go and help pick people off in side lanes, things like that. They have a pretty solid team composition with tanks and all this different stuff. But on the flip side, for University of Texas, they have a little bit of a strange draft with the Darius. Not the strongest pick in general in the game. Often is ending up like, if I'm killing stuff, I look great, and if I'm not, I look useless.
Yeah, well, UT also kind of has on their side their comfort, I wouldn't say comfort picks, but they have power picks. They said they want to be aggressive, they said they want to do things in the laning phase, and they have an opportunity to do that with these picks that they've chosen for game number 1. So if there's any game that they're going to try to look good and try to win, I think it's going to be this one. If they can't with that strategy, they're going to have to reapproach it. But I'm looking at UT this time. I'm going to disagree.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think you're going to be wrong.
Well, I really don't know if anybody cares what we think, but I know that everybody else cares about what they think. So we want to hear your predictions. Get on Twitter and let us know by tweeting either hashtag Texas or hashtag UNC at uLoL. So while we get into this game here and you get your Twitter fingers going, Mark, I want to know what's going to come out from this one, especially that Darius-Zach combination.
Yeah, I mean, it's not the kind of thing that you initially think synergizes super well compared to, like I said, UNC, where they have this kind of divey front line where Poppy can go in, Hecarim can do a lot of follow-up. They have a lot of tools to get that going. The flip side, like I said, Darius kind of doesn't set anyone else up and doesn't particularly use setup that well. So it looks like they want to just disrupt a lot of people with the Zac, go in, cause a lot of chaos, and hopefully the Darius is able to isolate someone. But we'll have to see as we get into game and see, exactly what the Darius pick can do, because it's been a while since I've seen one.
Yeah, I don't think I've really seen a competitive Darius since, well, maybe Worlds last year. There was a lot of pentakills when Darius was being played, so I'm kind of excited. The collegiate scene has always been one of those ones where we really focus on individual skill. So being able, if you're comfortable with the top lane Darius pick, or if you are more comfortable than your opponent, or potentially get some assistance from like a very easy to assist your lane jungler. He ganks very easily, Zac. Like that could be something that snowballs completely out of control.
Right, all right, so let's get into game and we'll be able to see exactly how this is gonna go. We are loaded into the game now. We have University of Texas on the blue side and University of North Carolina on the red side. A little confusing given their school's colors.
That's all right. They'll flip next game, and it'll be even more confusing because then it'll make sense, and then we'll have already put into your minds that it's the opposite way around.
Maybe that's how your brain works, Tom. I think it's a little much to extrapolate for the rest of the people. I think it'll be
a lot easier.
Follow. Yeah.
All right. Well, there's Pokemon team versus the Rare Pepe's team. That's how I'm going to remember it. And Primate just standing in the mid lane sees absolutely everybody trying to run in from the side of UNC to get that early invade. It's just spotted out by just standing still.
Yeah, I actually don't hate it. It's a pretty low risk, high upside play. If their mid laner comes late, then you get into that side brush and you can potentially start setting things up. Now their comp doesn't do that super well. If you have a long range hook or binding like a Morgana or a Thresh, then that can actually be pretty punishing. But I mean, what the scariest thing would be like a TF coming at you there. So I don't hate the idea. Worst case scenario, they see you, you back off and go back into your standard kind of level 1 setup.
Well, that's pretty much the quote-unquote power of the line of scrimmage setup, is you cover all those jungle entrances, and as soon as you see one of them being contested, you kind of fall back into your jungle and you protect against it. You let them know that, like, hey, like, we know what's up, we're going to be able to react to that, and just even being able to spot out in that mid lane right there. That's something that we don't normally see a lot of, is people just kind of moving out into the mid lane, because if you just stay by your tower, you won't see them sneaking around that brush, but really good there by Primate to just, be a scout.
I think it's the kind of thing we've all experienced in solo queue.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you're a jungler, you're sitting there hoping that you don't get invaded, someone doesn't watch their point, and next thing you know, Blitzcrank's behind you, hooking you. The worst feeling in the world.
And your mid laner just winds up buying her pots and Doran's ring, just walks back
like a minute
into
the game, giving you some question mark pings. What happened to you?
Guys, sorry, I was getting
watching your point.
Doesn't happen in collegiate play.
Yeah, luckily, these guys are more coordinated than that. Both junglers starting on the bot side of the map, grabbing their buffs right away and clearing up to the top side.
Yep, blue buff start for Theo Pinson, red buff start for the side of Cute Mankey. We'll have to see how these lanes wind up stacking up. The Darius versus Poppy lane. Poppy already doesn't necessarily have the strongest laning phase. That's why she can get bullied around by some of those top lane picks such as the Jace and those other kind of carry-centric top laners, but eventually will become a massive, massive tank threat that is extremely hard to kill. Darius, on the other hand, is a little bit of a bully lane.
Right, and I mean, especially when you have the ability to push on the Poppy, is when she struggles a little bit. You see that often Maokai and Nautilus are able to win the lane a little bit against her, but she does start ramping up very quickly and is able to trade effectively, though not always handle the push. And Darius is a pick with some wave clear. His Q is able to push pretty heavily, and as we see already, that Ackerman is under his turret farming.
Yeah, and meanwhile, on the flip side of the map, we have UNC with the Caitlyn Karma lane, which you normally think of Caitlyn in the bottom lane. You think of a very advantageous matchup. She has infinity range, it seems like, over most AD carries in the game. But the Zyra and the Ashe are kind of the counterparts to the Caitlyn and the Karma in both of those roles, where they too can kind of put up a fight. And we already see as UT here is shoving in against that side.
Yeah, I mean, Caitlyn is often known as the lane-dominant AD carry, but Ashe's range isn't that much shorter. I think it's 50. I think she's at 600 to 650. So in terms of how bad it can get, it's not someone at 575, 550. Those are the matchups that feel awful. But it does seem like University of Texas is a little focused on trading too much, and they're getting caught out a little bit, and their CS is actually down despite having the push. So not the best overall, though that might be inflated due to the plants of Zyra.
That's also true, but in the top side of the map, we see Theo Pinson from the side of UNC. Does get spotted out on awards to 50 Shades of Kappa, and that top lane is going to stay relatively safe. But meanwhile, in the mid lane, we have Cute Mankey looking like he was going over towards the Raptor camp, trying to steal something away, trying to figure out where Theo Pinson is. It looks like he's gonna try to get a risky recall.
Interesting game of ring around the jungle. He goes into the Raptor camp looking for an invade, and then with the vision that he has in the river, he realizes, oh, I'm cut off, so he runs deeper into the jungle instead to get his recall off. Pretty funny.
Yeah, I thought we were going to see a Cute Mankey, cute gank over the wall with that Zac Elastic slingshot and try to burn a summoner spell from Twisted Fate, but knowing that Theo Pinson was wrapping back around to the jungle, he decides to try to take the safest route as to recall and go back, and actually, instead of getting just one of his jungle upgrades extremely fast, he's going for a first item Ionian Boots of Lucidity for extra move speed and cooldown reduction. Yeah,
it's a little strange to think about because generally Zac's engage tools are good enough on their own that you don't need to rely on the flash to get things done. So it is kind of surprising to see that to me, though he does benefit a fair amount from cooldown reduction, both in terms of the damage that he does to the jungle and the sustain.
We'll have to see if he winds up making any aggressive ganks with that Elastic Slingshot, being on a shorter cooldown or having that flash available more often than UNC may be expecting. We did see on the bottom side of the map, though, Theo Pinson was trying to hover around mid lane, but there was a very good control ward right there by UT Primate. In the top lane here, Ackerman first to flash away here. 50 Shades of Kappa, that bully lane from Darius, already getting some work done. Meanwhile, Primate in the mid lane didn't even have to burn any summoner spells. The Elastic Slingshot comes in, and Eugen has to try to flash away. Did land a gold card on Primate, but it's a summoner spell burn from the lane that started that gank.
Yeah, it seemed like they just wanted some help finally pushing that lane out, letting the TF get his recall off instead of getting shoved in over and over or something. But Theo Pinson wasn't able to get anything done, forced out, and has to get his first recall off.
So we'll have to see how that matchup winds up going, because now Rise is going to have an ample opportunity before that to go back and get his tier. Twisted Fate, on the other hand, when he was shoved out of lane, wound up coming back and picking up a second Doran's ring, which isn't necessarily where Twisted Fate wants to be. It's not terrible. He hits level 6. He's going to wind up roaming around the map a lot, but Rise had already gotten a very early tier back in pre-5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing to look at here is what happens at 6. TF is one of those champions who really gets unlocked at 6, where Rise's ultimate is not particularly useful. Some people didn't even pick it up at 6 for the longest time, and they would double scale it at 10 and 11.
We need to see what Primate actually does to do that, because as you mentioned, Twisted Fate, very powerful shoving capabilities. Rise, no slouch in the wave clear himself, he just winds up using the empowered spell flux right there in order to just clear out a lot of minions. So priority in the mid lane is probably going to be a big story here, but the bottom lane matchup as well, with UT pushed up this far, Theo Pinson just trying to charge in right there, is not going to wind up getting the devastating charge down onto anybody, but Railgun has to use both summoners, as did Perfect.
Yeah, getting all 4 summoners out of the bot lane for North Carolina is pretty huge, given that they didn't have to commit anything on their side. So, I mean, you got that TF ult, you just got it online. Maybe after this recall, you force a dive bottom. It works great with Hecarim.
Yeah, and they did show that bottom lane away, but Hecarim looking like they did not want to go for that Ocean Drake. Instead, wanting to get a little bit more priority in the mid lane. Meanwhile, top lane, 50 Shades of Kappa continues to just decimate Ackerman there, continuing to whittle away and stack that bleed damage on top of Poppy.
Yeah, and Zach is on the top side of the map, but he is a little too low, I think, to try and force a dive here. The counter jungling leaving him unable to force a play. And though that is a good punish for Theo Pinson showing on the bot side, getting a small CS lead. I mean, Hecarim is a champion who does want a lot of farm, needs a lot of gold to get his items. If Hecarim ever does fall behind the state of the game, he ends up looking pretty useless, where his damage can't kill anyone, and he doesn't have any tank stats.
And Hecarim actually just getting his first back right now, picks up a pair of boots and a sheen for himself, wanting to go for that Trinity Force. And meanwhile, 50 Shades of Kappa now, that any junglers nearby, Ackerman feels safe to go in, winds up knocking him up with the Poppy Copter, but a quick little heal there from his own axe spin will keep him alive.
Yeah, just a nice little trade out of Ackerman, showing that he's not going to get totally bullied around. He's not afraid to fight back, though he is still down roughly 10 CS.
Yeah, but going back to the junglers, while the jungle numbers are slightly inflated due to the amount of what kinds of camps get taken, if somebody takes Krugs or Raptors, or for somebody taking like the Gromp or something along those lines, you can't really stack up the individual numbers, but the fact of the matter is the experience here. Theo Pinson taking this blue buff just hits level 5. Cute Mankey, when he invaded on the top side and took the Gromp, was already level 6.
Yeah, I mean, within like 10 to 15 CS, you can say maybe that's inflated just due to the jungle camps taken. When you start getting north of 40,
that's true.
That's probably not just from which camps you're taking.
Well, we saw Theo trying to make things happen top side, mid side, and bottom side, not getting anything for it, but Cute Mankey went back, picked up tier 2 boots, and was like, just gonna farm and counter gank once in the mid lane.
And I think it's the kind of thing where I have to question why you would go with Hecarim then if your plan is to try and influence the lanes early. His ganking potential pre-6 is not super high. You generally favor farming. And with only Rengar banned, there's a lot of early jungle picks that could have potentially advanced this game plan better.
There was a Kha'Zix available that we've seen a lot already in the Campus Series and the BTN. There's been potentially the Rek'Sai pickup, but the thing is with the Hecarim, he has the teamfight prowess that some of those other junglers don't. You get the devastating charge down, you wind up fearing into the backline of an entire team, and he also becomes a big damage threat in the later stages of the game. The key is getting there and surviving through this early game presence here, where Zach, now that he has level 6 and has picked up the Bammy Cinder, he's a little bit of a tanky force to be reckoned with. He's going to be looking for some of those slingshot ganks.
And University of Texas is already up 1,000 gold as they start off this dragon, just off the back of farming. There's no vision by North Carolina to see that this would even be happening. So this looks like it's going to be a pretty free Ocean Drake to help the laning continue to be in favor of University of Texas.
Yeah, and actually Rise looks like he's going to be using the Realm Warp to get behind the bottom lane here. He's going to get the Rune Prison down onto Lord Apollo. The Empowered One's going to keep him snared up for 2 extra seconds. In the meantime, though, PME Rare Pepes is stuck between a rock and a hard place, tries to get the ace in the hole off, but blocked by Rise. First Blood goes over to Perfect, and Eugen, as he's trying to come down, runs into Zach, who was doing the dragon. The slingshot knocks him up. Looks like he's going to want it going down. Maybe the gold card comes out. Mankey's going to flash. He stays alive.
He actually did not even lose his passive there. I thought for sure that was going to go down, but he did not. And worst of all, Karma could not get in their range to help out. I thought that was going to be a 2v1 situation, but not even.
No, the Karma got completely cut off by the Realm Warp here. Caitlyn was running forward, Karma was running backward, and if we're going to get a chance to see the replay, we'll really see how that Realm Warp split everybody up.
Yeah, it's always scary when you see people doing split objectives. Zach is on the dragon and Rise is going down to gank. It looks like a pretty good play, though, because they catch out Lord Apolles, and then on the flip side, the Caitlyn is stuck up against the wall, got 2 plants on either side of him blasting away at him. He almost traded back with the Ashe, but not quite able to do so. And then this is so funny, where even when he's stunned, the Zach ultimate is still going off, so Eugen was still taking damage despite the stun, which is probably the reason he died here, because if he was a little bit spacing that a little bit better, where he wasn't taking the ult damage while stunned, I think he wins that.
He actually didn't pop his Ghost or his Flash in that fight either, so both Summoner spells still available. Didn't think he needed to get the distance on the Zach and thought he was going to be able to take him down. To be completely honest, he was looking to teleport into that fight with the Destiny Gate combination, but ran into the Zach as the dragon wound up dying.
Yeah, I don't think he was intending to pick that 1v1, but once he was there and he gold carded him, walk back a little bit or flash the E, you got to do something other than take everything.
Yeah, Eugen was taken a little bit by surprise, and it results in 2 kills for the side of UT and the first dragon of the game being that Ocean Drake. Gonna help him sustain up a lot in lane, especially that Zach just keeping traversing both sides of the jungle. He's gonna be really healthy when he comes in for these ganks.
Right, and they have over a 20 CS lead in every single position except the bot lane. So this is not just, oh, you know, we got 2 kills in Dragon, that's great. They also are winning hardcore in every lane, so they're up 2K.
Yeah, and even though they might be at a CS disadvantage in the bottom side of the map, that assist and that kill going on to Zyra also mean that they are at a gold advantage. So across the board, every single lane, including the jungle at this point in the stage, is ahead for the side of UT, and that's where the gold lead comes from. But we'll have to see what they wind up doing with it now.
Right, I mean, all summoners are back available for this bot lane. Flashes away from the Hecarim. The flash by Zyra, not so great. Didn't get too far away, but they're actually able to turn it back onto Caitlyn and pick her up. TP's coming in.
Yeah, the TP's coming in, but the exhaust have been used on Theo Pinson, so they're going to want to getting the Let's Bound coming out from Zach. The Theo Pinson's going to get slowed down. He's going to get taken down. Even though Ackerman is in the fray here, and 50 Shades of Kappa has not joined the fight, this is going horribly for UNC. The Zach passive is going to get popped, so his cells will divide. Now in comes Twisted Fate. Eugen comes in with the red card, tries to blow up the Zach. The blob looks like they're not even going to be taken down. The teleport was used to save him, so while they wind up picking up Ashe, Zach is still alive, and he's bouncing all over the back lines. Rise comes in with the ghost, and he's able to clean up the last one on the backside of that when Apollos goes down.
Man, that was a scrappy fight, starting with a gank attempt by the Hecarim that got turned into a massive 5v5 with everyone contributing.
Yeah, and as you see right here, the devastating charge coming in from Hecarim, it's flashed away by Ashe, not flashed by Zyra, but the exhaust goes down, so there's no damage.
Right, and we see that once Caitlyn basically insta-dies to this devastating Ashe Zyra lane that's known for just blowing people up, it's a chase down by Texas, trying to pick up a number of kills. The Darius being a little greedy, not TPing in right away, thinking that they're going to win this on their own, actually starts getting turned around as Zach tanks the turret a little bit too much, and it allows Ackerman and Lord Apollys to focus down the Ashe. And once Eugen joins, yeah, he teleports on a blob to try and keep Cute Mankey alive as well. Not the worst play. But, you know, if you just come in a little bit early, you don't even need to worry about that.
That's true. So even though the teleport was a little bit delayed, the cleanup on the backside and Primate just snagging that last kill for himself means that it's going to be 7 kills in favor of UT compared to just the 1, I think, that they picked up there from North Carolina, and they're not done yet. Cute Mankey coming into the mid lane. Does wind up eating a gold card for his troubles. No Cell Division passive available. Has to be a little bit careful.
Yeah. I mean, you just had such a massive fight, number of summoners are down. Maybe take it slow for a second, figure out what you want to do with your lanes. We see Ashe in the top side of the map without any support, but doesn't have to be too scared of a Poppy.
Maybe they just want to keep the tempo going. UT, up tempo. They got to keep the pace of the game going. They also took that first Tower Blood as well, so they got the extra bonus gold from that, so that's 24.4k compared to this 19k that UNC has. So they do have this lead, but like you said, they still have some stacking items and some stacking things going on. Rise with the Rod of Ages complete, still has his tier. He wants to get going before he actually becomes an absolute monster. Ashe herself, even though they've been able to take down that tower, has not necessarily completed her own big item, picked up Berserker's Greaves first before the Essence Reaver, so she's still waiting to kind of get that first item power spike. When the Essence Reaver is completed, they'll have a lot of arrows to throw out and keep the game going.
Yeah, and I don't think they have to worry too much because North Carolina's not looking too hot. We see 50 Shades of Kappa aggressing onto Eugen. Looks like he's going to try and dive this turret to pick up the kill.
Well, the flash forward, even though he gets some with the gold card, Noxian Guillotine's available, but Eugen's going to have to burn his own flash just to get away from the Darius. Meanwhile, back on the top side of the map, we have a Poppy Karma lane trying to hold the tower against the Ashe Zyra lane with a Cute Mankey kind of lurking in the tall grass right behind them. We're going to have to see if he tries to go in for an elastic slingshot. The Zyra Roots come out, the Stranglethorns as well, a flash away from Lord Apollos, but the Let's Bounce comes out. The exhaust is down on Zach, but Lord Apollos and Ackerman are both dropping extremely low. Cute Mankey's going to give Poppy a little bit of a tunnel
nice
out of the way, a
kinda.
flash away from the elastic slingshot, but it's not going to keep Poppy alive. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, PME Rare Pepes gets taken down by a Darius and a Rise combo.
I take that back. That was a terrible flash the more I thought about it. And I gotta say, I don't know what North Carolina's lane setups are. You have a Caitlyn alone in the mid lane versus a Rise, the TF bottom versus a Darius, and then a Poppy Karma trying to hold on versus Ashe Zyra. I'm not too stunned that that didn't work out for them.
Well, it was like this weird 3-1-1 setup where they just had the biggest members, the biggest, baddest solo laners of UT pushing down either side, and Eugen got chunked out extremely early, so he wasn't able to really rotate around and help Caitlyn whatsoever. So without a lot of wave clear, with this Caitlyn still hurting, because now that Caitlyn, that bully lane, needs items to succeed.
Here comes Lord Apollos walking into his own jungle, thinks he's safe. Not the case.
He uses the sweeper, but all he finds is a Darius and a Rise, and one Noxian Guillotine later, 50 Shades of Kappa takes him down.
He looks like he's looking for more, not going to find anything, and they start off onto the Infernal Drake, getting pretty good Drakes here for University of Texas.
Yeah, the Ocean Drake for the lane sustain, and now the Infernal Drake, once they're turning up the heat, they're going to get a little bit of extra damage, and they're going to be able to really put the hurt down on UNC. Essence Reaver completed for Ashe. We actually have Zach going for a pair of Sorcerer Shoes, so sold his Ionian Boots of Lucidity and picked up the Sorcerer Shoes, has the Cinder Hook available, but has also decided to go for a Haunting Guise, as now PME Rare Pepes thinks he's a little bit safe with Theo Pinson, but there's 2 stuns there, a Rune Prism Prison and Enchanted Crystal Arrow used just to push them away.
As they continue to control the bot side jungle, looks like they rotate down to try and finish off this inner turret or catch out Ackerman. He gets pulled in by the Darius, and he's getting CC'd, but gets his ultimate off and is able to walk away.
Yeah, Poppy Copter knocks Darius away, but that's Poppy ultimate use, and they're not going to be able to use it to defend against this tower push coming out from UT. 4 members strong in the bot side, and Zach not that far away from a slingshot in the mid lane means that this tower taking a lot of damage here from the blue team. Looks like it's one that's going down.
Yeah, it's going to go down in favor of University of Texas. Picks up their first inner turret in the bot side. And I gotta say, I don't particularly like the Zach build. I understand it's the solo queue mentality. You're up 11-1. I'm sure he's not going to get punished for it. But
4-0-2.
I mean, he's going off, but
the hard carry.
You could just become this unkillable tank if you wanted to.
You could, but you also got a Darius on your side with the Black Cleaver and Merc Treads. Hasn't yet gone back to buy for a very long time, is most likely going to wind up having a lot of extra tank stats behind that. The Zach himself, I also kind of agree. Like, you might as well just get really tanky, but this is a little bit of a stylish play here. Cute Mankey continuing to just decimate Theo Pinson's jungle. We mentioned the caveat about the jungle camps right now, but 123 to 76, now 80. Is going to be a lot.
Right, I have to think that Theo Pinson over-prioritized ganking and making an impact on the map in the early game. He would have been much better served just farming out his jungle and not getting abused in this matchup, which I don't even think is supposed to be that bad for him. We saw that if he just farmed up and got his Triforce early, some of these plays might have gone better in their favor. The dive play bottom, potentially looking at that one. And just overall, they also didn't make any plays with the TF, despite what you would think would be a better global champion than Rise, who admittedly does have his own way to get around the map. It's just not as long range in the early game, but he was still the first one who made a play when he ported behind North Carolina's bot lane.
Well, Mark, just to keep up the trend, we are currently 5 for 5 on Rift Heralds taken in Campus Series games we've casted.
I think that the pro teams need to come down and watch some of these games and figure out how they're securing all these Rift Heralds. They got to have something figured out that the pros don't know.
Yeah, man, we said collegiate teams like to focus on individual play. They make superstars out of their captains, out of their primary shot callers, out of the players that just happen to have the highest MMR on their team, and they gave that one to Rise, but looks like Cute Mankey almost got it because he's just absolutely decimating Lord Apollo's there. Did have a little bit of help from Perk.
All right, maybe the spell pen build's working out all right just fine for the Zach if you're going to be doing that to people.
I mean, if you're just going to absolutely blow people up in like 2 or 3 hits, then why the heck not? I actually don't know if he's actually picked up Courage the Colossus or Thunderlords. If he went Thunderlords, it would make a lot of sense. If he has Courage of the Colossus, I'm not feeling it as much, but he's going to continue to try to go on in here. Winds up knocking up Yujin. There's no shield right there, so I'm going to go with the fact he might have Thunderlords instead. But the Stranglethorns comes out and PM me. Rare Pepe gets knocked up and taken down. That Caitlyn is 0-4-0, not having a good game.
Nope, and that Rise is having a good one. He is pretty fed, running around the map, farmed pretty well throughout the game. They're going to rotate up to the top side, join the Ashe, who has already pushed in the minion wave, and looks like they're going to be able to take another inner turret, unless North Carolina wants to pick a fight here, but they're kind of cut off.
Yeah, well, looks like Primate over the wall gets the Rune Prison down onto Lord Apollo's, just trying to chunk him out and force them away. Meanwhile, Theo Pinson goes in on 50 Shades of Kappa. He's got 3 levels on you, dude. He has to devastating charge the heck out of there.
Yeah, that looked like a little miscalculation. I don't know what he was thinking.
I don't know. Like, he was just charging right into a Darius, and normally, I mean, I'm an 80 carry player myself, so whenever I see a Darius, I kind of just run the opposite direction. Can't really say much the same for Hecarim players, but when that is a 3-0-1 Darius, the 182 CS, 70 over your opposing top laner, you do not want to be charging into that Black Cleaver, building towards what looks to be even just more tankiness than the Hecarim has right now. Yeah,
and looks like Cute Mankey's going to try and open up them during their rotation to the bot lane. They catch out. Ooh, the Hecarim went down fast.
He just got melted, absolutely. Meanwhile, 50 Shades of Kappa steps on a Caitlyn trap, taking a lot of damage, but the 50 caliber net's blocked out by Cute Mankey. Meanwhile, the Rise on the opposite side and the Ashe with the Enchanted Crystal Arrow will lock down Yujin. Not going to be able to take him out. Ackerman, in the meantime, flashes forward. He wants something on the Darius. He's looking for a fight, but 50 Shades of Kappa is going to take it to him.
Darius just running around looking like an idiot doing Darius things, but he's actually distracting North Carolina from the mid lane where University of Texas was able to grab their last inner turret.
Yeah, and even though the Ashe 2, 1, and 6 only partaking in little more than half of these kills, has really been the primary tower-taking bot. She took down those 2 top lane towers, or at least prepped the wave to take the tier 2, pushes in that mid lane turret. Her tower on the bot lane was the first one to fall. They're just using this composition of theirs almost perfectly. They're moving around the map and they're prioritizing very much like we saw University of Maryland do in the BTN, they're playing the map extremely well and not giving up those tempo plays they made early on.
Right, and I actually do like their vision control. They're able to make the rotations over to side lanes first, but then they also are able to find North Carolina moving over and cut them off before they can get to them. So we've seen a number of times, both on the top and bot side, that they're able to know exactly where North Carolina is trying to path.
Yeah, and they're doing this without the usage of the Realm Warp. I think I've only seen Rise use it once this entire game for that gank bot lane, but their movement on the map, and like you said, their vision control between the quadrants they're going to be pressing down and pushing those waves up with Ashe is just so dominant that they don't even need that mobility spell to just pick off these pieces from the side of UNC. But for UNC, they're just kind of walking into a lot of these death traps. We've seen already their bottom lane, both the Caitlyn and the Karma, have kind of been caught out of nowhere, much like Eugen is right here. Even though he had a little bit of a team behind him, he's going to go nowhere as the spell pen between Rise and Hecarim goes down. The Enchanted Crystal Arrow locks up PME Rare Pepe's. He's just not even going to be able to move before he goes down. Primate, in the meantime, has popped the Ghost and is charging forward at 50 Shades of Kappa, slams down the Noxian Guillotine and picks up that kill. Instead, it's going to be UT pushing down into this inhibitor tower, taking down the mid lane inhibitor at just over 22 minutes against UNC.
And they can push a little bit more, though I don't think they'll be able to actually end the game here without picking up a couple more kills, because North Carolina's still got their respawn timers pretty low, only 22 and 30 seconds into the game.
And this Zac build, the Leandry's Torment Cinderhulk, might not be doing much for me in the sense of how I would normally recommend playing Zac, but in this specific game, looks to be doing a lot. And even though he's not building straight tank, still 3,000 HP because of that Cinderhulk.
We don't need your boring tanks down here in the Collegiate League. We're having fun.
That's true.
I mean, you can have a 505 Zac. That's what everyone wants to do, honestly, when they're playing League of Legends, just pop off on people.
Well, there's also a 405 Rise and a 402 Darius. As a matter of fact, everybody besides the Ashe has 0 in the deaths column right now.
Well, maybe they gotta talk to him a little bit, get him back on the same page with the rest of the team. We're not supposed to die.
Maybe, I don't know. 80 carries in 2017 now.
I guess, I mean, you have the evidence right there.
Yet only death on his team. Actually has picked up a Runon's Hurricane in addition to that Essence Reaver. Looks like to be going for an Infinity Edge later on, but we'll see if the game actually goes that way. Because if you are in UNC's shoes right now, you have a mid lane inhibitor down, your jungle is warded up, you're seeding buffs left and right, and there's a Baron buff of the enemy team. How are you going to buckle down?
Yeah, I mean, especially given the dive capabilities of University of Texas, the Rise can port people in, Zac already has great range. The one thing Darius sometimes struggles with is getting in range, but you can just piggyback off the Rise ultimate, and Ashe will be starting everything off with her ultimate.
And on top of that, you have a Zyra. So if anybody's stuck out of position, there's multiple ways to lock somebody down. So they have to be extremely careful, including Ackerman, who, although he is the tankiest member on his team, is still 2 levels down compared to this Darius. And I don't know if he's actually going to be able to get away here. He might actually have to burn the ultimate to just run away from 50 Shades of Kappa. Noxian Guillotine comes out, just destroys Poppy. I like that. I like that a lot.
Yeah, Poppy being a little, well, she didn't have her ultimate and her flash was down, so not much of a chance. Or maybe the ultimate got interrupted and it's on the shorter cooldown.
It doesn't matter that Poppy gets caught out. That means the bottom lane tower and inhibitor are going to be seated. Theo Pinson has a devastating charge in the opposite direction again. The flash from Cute Mankey tries to get the kill, but it's going to be Primate that gets it instead. The evolved form proving superior in this time around. Darius, in the meantime, is just going to run straight through the tower, run into the base, and it looks like this is going to be UT taking a very quick sub-25-minute game, 19 kills to 1. Styling on UNC.
Yeah, port those minions into the fountain, use them to tank people up so you can turret dive to your heart's content. Gonna trade a kill back. No, they actually don't even lose anyone, so they are able to finish 20-1. Pretty stompy game coming out for University of Texas in game 1.
Yeah, and the Zac, I guess, technically died twice. His Cell Division passive got popped twice, but once was saved by a teleport and once was saved by the game ending, so.
Very fortunate for him.
Very fortuitous indeed. However, that was absolutely domination. Absolute domination by the University of Texas. And it all really kind of started when the side of UNC were trying to make proactive plays on the map, but they really couldn't. It really came down to that Hecarim gank failing in the bottom lane that first time around.
Right, that really was where the game broke open. There were a couple good plays out of University of Texas already, but when that Hecarim made that play and it turned into that big 5v5 team fight, that is where the game ultimately snowballed out of control. And it starts with him coming in, trying to use his ultimate on people who have their flashes available. This is one of the weaknesses of Hecarim. You see that he's able to get flashed out. Zyra, not the best flash, but is able to land the root onto Caitlyn, which is all you need to do. She dies before being able to really do much, and then from there, Cute Mankey is there to cover the escape that they're trying to make. And though the Poppy TP comes in first, they're still in full retreat mode, and he's mostly just trying to play this defensively. And Karma and him are eventually able to start turning this around. Maybe they can get something done. because he does tank a lot of turret shots, but as the teams continue to come in, we're going to see that Eugen joins on his TF, turns into a little bit of a crazy fight. Ashe goes down, but finally Darius joins, able to clean up the rest of the kills and stop this from getting any worse for them, and ends up, I think, a total 5 for 0, or 5 for 1.
Yeah, because Primate winds up coming into the back here and just absolutely decimates, and this is the only death of the game where Ashe winds up falling down, so unfortunate for UNC all across the board. But that was also the second time Hecarim tried to visit that bottom lane. The earlier gank where he wound up coming down at the same exact time that Zach was doing Dragon, and there was the Rise teleport that kind of came from behind. The Twisted Fate runs into the Zach. It was just like every single time UNC tried to force something, it was UT that was there to respond, and then eventually UT was able to just make great plays happen all by themselves.
Yeah, and the Zach really was one of the highlights for this game. Here we see him on the flank setting up a play with his mid laner Primate on Rise. Eugen steps a little bit too far forward wanting to clear the wave, and it's just a free E elastic slingshot over the wall. He just melts before he even hits the ground with the help of Rise, and the great arrow coming out, able to snipe out rare Pepe's. He's going to be stunlocked there, chained again by the Rise. It's an easy chase down basically the rest of the way for University of Texas.
Yeah, and so University of Texas definitely putting the moves on in this game against UNC, and it's kind of an understatement to say that this game did not go quite as planned for UNC.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big thing I'd have to look at is that Hecarim pick. They took it when it's usually a kind of pick that needs to get ahead or farm for the early game, and he fell massively behind in farm to the Zach, who was able to just path better than him, which is, of course, not ideal for your team comp when ideally you're farming till 6 with a Rise and the TF and U combo for some kind of dive play on the top or bot side of the map.
So we'll have to see if there's any adaptations that wind up making the pick and ban phase for game number 2. But with game 1 under the books, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll see if UNC is going to be able to bounce themselves back and prove they're a playoff quality team. Hello and welcome back to uLoL Campus Series, day number 2. We just watched the University of Texas decimate the University of North Carolina, Mark.
Yeah, it really wasn't that close, and I will say, I think with a little bit better draft, hopefully UNC can do something that works for them, because they took the Hecarim, were very, very slow, or playing too aggressive with it, not farming enough and waiting for 6. So maybe if they go for a more aggressive style comp with their picks, maybe it'll work out for them.
And we'll have to see if they wind up changing anything in the picks and bans process, but that's going to be really great for us because we're jumping into picks and bans for the second match here. So we get to see right now, what are the adaptations from UNC? Are they, now that they're on the blue side, are they still going to ban away some of those priority bans? And as I say that already, the Camille's banned out, so what will change?
I don't know about too much, because on the side of University of Texas, from their blue side, they still banned out the Rengar, so I assume they're going to keep that. And both teams were banning the OP picks kind of not randomly, but you know, where you wouldn't expect them. You don't expect to see Rengar on the blue side, but they did it, and here once again they banned it on red.
Yeah, and actually the Zac ban comes out, so Cute Mankey getting target ban with that one. University of Texas also had a Syndra and an interesting Janna ban when they were on the blue side. Let's see if they wind up keeping those ones up, or if they're going to be forced to ban away something like the LeBlanc. They do wind up picking up the Syndra, and that's back on UNC side. They could potentially get one of those priority picks that was left through last time.
Right, I mean, we saw Ryze taken by University of Texas. That had a huge impact on the game. The TF that they took wasn't really able to compete with it. We see the Malzahar ban, and now we get to see if they do once again ban the Janna, because then it would be the exact same bans, I believe, at that point.
Would be
I don't know
the
if the
exact
Zac was
same
changed out.
No, the Zac was changed out, and I believe they had the LeBlanc ban, which is actually what University of Texas picks up. So that leaves the Janna open. We'll have to see if they wind up prioritizing that one. I can't really imagine they would. There's a lot left open in the jungle, though. The Zac banned away, the Rengar banned away. Kha'Zix is the first thing that comes to mind. We'll have to see if UNC winds up picking it or not.
Yeah, Kha'Zix, Lee, those are the kinds of things that I would like to see out of Theo Pinson. This time they take the Darius. They're flipping it back around. They want to show 50 Shades of Kappa how it's done. Not going to say that they can only play tanks or anything like that.
That's actually very interesting. It's the second time we've seen the Darius be targeted as a priority pickup in this pick and ban phase as well. And Malphite being picked up into that from the University of Texas, that's not what I would normally take against the Darius.
Nope, that would not be what I would either. We also see the Rek'Sai coming in for Cute Mankey, more normal of the jungle picks, not the Zac. I guess once he's off that, he goes back to being a meta slave a little bit.
Sad. No Leandry's Torment Rek'Sai?
I mean, you could. There was back in the day, you did a little bit of AP Rek'Sai, and it was terrible.
Well, we'll have to see if they want to go in with that. But the Rek'Sai picked up there. The Lee Sin is actually what they're going to go with for Theo Pinson on the side of UNC, so something a little bit more straightforward, a lot of more early game pressure.
Ooh, and they end up with the Jace mid. So right now, University of North Carolina is super, super AD heavy, and that sets up pretty well for a Ziggs bot lane pick. I wouldn't mind seeing that come out now that they've committed so much to already being physical damage. We see University of Texas once again getting their hands on the Ryze. Didn't have a huge snowball in the game. In the initial phase, he had that one nice TP behind, but it wasn't super dominant, so I want to see if he can do just basically the same thing again. He doesn't need to take over. Just being a team player was enough. And they also get the Ashe again as well. Yeah,
and Primate mostly kept Eugen in check. He had Twisted Fate last game, and he really made 0 plays on the map. And as a matter of fact, Primate was one that was making moves on the map before the Twisted Fate even was. So we'll see if he's able to actually just fulfill the same thing at the same time. Meanwhile, University of North Carolina is going to continue the full AD composition and go with a Varus pickup. So they have the Chains of Corruption. It's a little bit more team organized, but not necessarily the sort of damage needed to diversify, and they actually rounded out with a Thresh on top of that.
Right, so there's basically no magic damage coming in. 50 Shades of Kappa being a little bit of a profit, knowing that the Malphite pick would be an excellent choice. So we're just waiting on the last pick from Perfect here. Turns out to be a Karma. Pretty good with the team comp overall. Most of these champions are happy being a little bit faster, sticking to their targets, Rek'Sai and Ryze in particular.
Yeah, and so overall, as we look at the draft summary here, University of Texas kind of come out of this one, once again, looking, at least in my opinion, a little bit more ahead. UNC did make some adaptations. They took the Darius away. They changed the Lee Sin in the jungle, but they actually wound up picking, like you said, a full AD composition into a Malphite and with the Karma on top of that just to protect them.
Right, but I do like what UNC did, at least in terms of picking a more active jungler in the Lee Sin. This is exactly what I was hoping to see out of them. The question is if it'll actually translate to a win. The concern is that if this goes late at all, Malphite is going to be pretty much unkillable. I'm sure you'll also see the Rek'Sai stacking plenty of armor, and who knows, maybe the Ashe picks up a Thornmail or something as well.
Well, we'll have to see. Who did you guys think will win the second match? You can either tweet hashtag Texas or hashtag UNC to @uLoL and make your own pick. So as we go into game number 2, we're going to tally your votes on Twitter and see what you guys are thinking. But in this one, it's really on UNC to be like, listen, last game, not so good. wipe a clean slate on that one and try to force the deciding game number 3 in this.
Right, I'm excited to see what happens. So let's head into the game so we can finally get to see exactly what this all-AD comp does, because I don't have the highest hopes for it.
No, and the fact of the matter is, too, last time around, they had a Caitlyn on their side. They had the bully lane matchup, the Caitlyn Karma, into the Ashe and Zyra, and even though the Ashe and Zyra can kind of keep up with that in lane, they didn't utilize what Caitlyn was able to do to bully out very effectively. Varus is one of those picks, extremely pokey. He's kind of considered a lane bully himself, but once again, it's into an Ashe matchup. It's into a Karma matchup. Are they going to be able to establish priority? And I think they really need to if you're UNC, because that bottom side of the map was a thorn in their side all game long.
Right, and the Karma pick is a little annoying for a Thresh. She's very quick and make her lane opponent, her lane mate in the Ashe also very fast. Hard to hook someone like that. So the bot lane might be a little bit hard for North Carolina to get some stuff done. I think the top side of the map would be a great place to target with the Lee Sin early. Being able to snowball the Darius versus the Malphite matchup would be actually pretty huge, because if you can get a little bit ahead of him, you also have the true damage that comes in. So it doesn't matter if he gets a chain vest early, it's not going to stop anything.
Yeah, and of course Darius having that mixed damage type is going to be very, very painful to deal with. We saw the Poppy last time around from Ackerman was not able to really withstand all the damage that 50 Shades of Kappa was able to put out on the Darius in the early stages of the lane phase. Not only did it push the Poppy in, it let the tower fall down earlier on, especially once they took the bottom lane tower and rotated their AD carrying support up. And at that point in time, the Poppy just didn't have the time to get those tanky items and become that unkillable frontline force that they needed. So the Malphite, we'll see if he's able to do something similar, or actually be able to accomplish something that the Poppy was not able to, or if it's going to go a similar way just because of this bully lane matchup. But both junglers once again starting on normal sides of the map, and it looks like we had no sorts of shenanigans, unlike last game where UNC tried to get that cheeky invade level 1.
Yeah, it didn't quite work out. This time, looks like Rek'Sai is going for a really, really early path into the bot side of the jungle. He should know that this was something that wouldn't really be available. I guess he's going for the Raptors right away. He's going to get shoved out, though, because UNC had actually warded that area. They had a ward in the brush there, and it looks like he's going to get collapsed on by a level 1 and level 2 Lee Sin, forced out the flash.
Yeah, Eugen just kind of comes down on the level 1 Jace, and Theo Pinson trades flash for flash with the jungler, so that's can't be actually that bad. A flash for flash burn, and Cute Mankey, he did wind up getting away with that Raptor camp, though, but he is extremely, well, he isn't extremely low. He winds up popping those 2 charges on his health potion and keeping himself alive.
Yeah, and it looks like he's continuing to try and be annoying. He's looking at the top side of the jungle now for Cute Mankey to invade. He could also swing behind the Darius, maybe try and set up a kill, but Darius is going in on Malphite.
Yeah, and that bleed damage is just ticking away. A flash throw from Ackerman. He actually draws tower aggro. First blood goes to 50 Shades of Kappa.
You gotta wonder what he was thinking there, as we see a bot lane fight going on as well. This one's getting pretty testy, but it looks like it's gonna be disengaged. So let's take a look at exactly what happened on the top side of the map real quick.
And this is where it feels real bad. Ackerman gets a little too hypey, flashes, auto attacks the tower, and the bleed damage drew the tower aggro, and 50 Shades of Kappa is just able to pick up a kill.
Yeah, I mean, there weren't that many creeps in range either. He had the bleed going, which is gonna pull the aggro. It didn't even look like his Q cooldown was up, because he just autoed the turret. Overall, just a very, very over-aggressive play. I mean, he was doing a good job in the lane and had a lot of pressure. You just got to bring your jungler up there and convert on it.
And the worst part about that is he goes back and only is able to pick up a control ward, but Lord Apollo is actually with a nice little flash flay there, forces the flash out from Perfect. The Lee Sin Sonic Wave Resonating Strike connects. Flash has been used by Railgun as well, so actually now on this side, UNC's bottom lane, we had questions about it. They're starting to prove themselves here, but now Cute Mankey going for a jungle invade here, runs into Eugen, and UNC is going to pick up a kill in the mid lane.
Yeah, Cute Mankey getting a little too aggressive with all these invades, not actually getting much off of them. This time he goes down and feeds double buffs over to the mid laner for University of North Carolina. You gotta think Primate's not gonna be too happy about that.
No, not at all. A double buff Jace is going to be something you don't want to deal with really at any point in the game, and especially when you Arise, you want to stack up your tier, you want to get that Rod of Ages going. Now you're going to be harassed down by a bunch of Shock Blasts, a bunch of to the skies charge-ins from a Jace that is not going to be hesitant to jump on you whatsoever.
Yep, that's going to be pretty annoying, but at least Rise has his tier. He's just looking to farm out anyways. If Jace wants to perma push and go roam around the map. He can do that, not the most impactful roamer in the game, as Ackerman is once again getting aggressive onto 50 Shades of Kappa, winning the lane despite giving that kill over. But then again, 50 Shades of Kappa hasn't got a recall off yet.
That's true. So 50 Shades of Kappa still has that first blood gold to spend, has his teleport available, as does Ackerman. We'll see if 50 Shades of Kappa chooses to use it or just decides to walk back to lane and give up a little bit of that experience. Already gone back and picked up a Bambi Cinder for himself. But we had a couple of questions, as we see the teleport being used top lane, about UNC coming into this one. What are they going to change? Are they going to be a little bit more aggressive? Are they going to make things happen in the laning phase? And even though it's really been on UT kind of overextending a little bit and UNC capitalizing on it, they are taking advantage of the opportunities given to them.
I mean, University of Texas is playing pretty aggressive too. We see another aggressive trade in the bot lane where they're going to be able to pick up Railgun most likely.
Yeah, Lord Apollo's on this Thresh is a force to be reckoned with. A couple more hooks, a couple more flays, and Railgun just goes down.
Yeah, I mean, this is the kind of thing that can snowball out of control pretty quickly. They're out of summoners in the bot lane, and they're coming up on 6 pretty quickly. So after they get a reset here off, you might see a regank onto University of Texas's bot lane.
Yeah, we'll have to see now. The Ashe is now 28 CS to 43, so it's UNC's Varus and Thresh combination in the bot lane that is winning it. And Ashe on her death recall there, her free recall as some people call it, blows back, picks up a Cull and a Longsword, which is not the item spikes you're going to want if you want to go for that Essence Reaver. You're really looking to try to get that BF sword on your first back.
No, I totally disagree. That matches up great against the BF sword Varus.
Well, you know, to each their own, but what do I know?
Yeah. You're a Master Tier player, right, Tom?
Oh yeah, totally. At least on Reddit,
Me
I am.
too.
But speaking of Master Tier placer, 50 Shades of Kappa comes back in with that Bambi Cinder, hits level 6. The Unstoppable Force just knocks up Ackerman and takes him down.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be pretty rough when you're the aggressor in this matchup. Ackerman needs to be taking control of the lane and winning, and feeding over his second kill is basically the end of that matchup.
Yeah, now he's gone back, picked up pieces for his own phage, but that, I don't really know how that's going to wind up going. The Malphite here, you thought he would be losing extremely early on and need to really make use of that teleport that he burned to get back to lane and use that Unstoppable Force for a gank or a team fight or a dragon fight or something. But he's just very handily. 50 Shades of Kappa shows that he knows both sides of this Darius matchup.
Yeah, don't counterpick the counterpick master.
I guess that's true.
Well, we see there's just some small trading going on bottom. Needs to get 6s really quick. There's no teleports to come in and join any force play that might happen, but the red buff is up for University of North Carolina, so I assume that Theo Pinson's going to finish farming out the bot side of his jungle before looking to make a play. Similarly, Cute Mankey handing off the blue buff to Primeape right now. Both teams just securing their neutral objectives before looking to do anything else.
It's some nice synergy. The Mankey tries to impress the Primate, says, you know what, you could take this red buff, this blue buff. You're the evolved form.
Him, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe the Mankey just needs a little, he's also level 5 compared to level 7, so the experience lines up.
I don't think you need to use any blue stones or anything to evolve.
No, but you need to have the experience, and he's just making sure he doesn't evolve quite yet.
Okay,
Once he evolves, that's when he starts popping off.
Oh. Wouldn't you want to evolve? Oh, he needs to learn more, so he gets
Yeah.
more skills, right? You can't evolve your Pokemon too early.
No. It's
Great
like if
point, Tom.
If you evolve them too early, they don't learn all their abilities, and then they have to wait to learn them later on. It's like if Rise doesn't take Ultimate at level 6, then he goes on later on, gets it 10 and 11, just like you were talking about last game.
Thank God we got Tom here to break it all down.
Yeah, how else would you get your Pokemon things right in line?
Probably the internet. So we look at the bot lane, level 6 on the Varus. Lee Sin was flanking behind, looking like they might want to set up a dive, but they're not too decisive about it. He's coming back around this time. Might use the Blast Cone to start it off.
Yeah, but there's a control ward right there, and kind of an interesting angle to go in on, but the Chains of Corruption goes wide. The Sonic Wave Resonating Strike does connect the flash away. Theo Pinson realizes there's a lantern there a little bit too late as Railgun winds up popping the arrows, and he takes down Lee Sin.
Yeah, we see the bot lane of University of Texas continue to chase them down. They still have their ultimates with the Ashe, so they might look to aggress, but for right now, they're just going to be pretty happy picking up that free kill.
Oh, but the hook comes out from Lord Apollo. It's a flash away from PME Rare Pepe as he winds up throwing down the E. A flash away from just the Prey Seeker coming out from Lord Apollo, so they're just playing extremely afraid on this bottom side now that they know that they're giving a kill over and a red buff to Ashe.
That's going to be pretty rough. I mean, she's pretty happy to get the free extra regen and damage and trades coming up. And this will obviously help her get back in the game a little bit. She was shut down where she didn't have a BF sword to help her out, but she had a Cull. And when she eventually cashes that in, she might be all the way back in this matchup.
Yeah, red buff on top of the slows coming out from Ashe. If somebody gets tagged with absolutely anything, the Karma can slow them down. They have the shield to speed them up. That could just be one of those long chases down the lane. So very wisely we see UNC letting the wave kind of push back on them in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Eugene goes in and they pinball Primate back and forth.
Getting slapped around the mid lane.
Whew, that was impressive. Takes to the skies, knocks him back, and the Lee Sin Dragon Rage just finishes him off. Gets the blue buff back, says thank you very much.
That's pretty good. That's what you need out of the Jace pick. He's a little bit of a snowball mid laner, and when he's not getting anything done, he's just farming. It's not going to be too good for him, but that kill is pretty huge.
Yeah, and we'll get the chance to actually see how the angle came in here. It looks like Theo Pinson just comes in from the side, no wards whatsoever up from the side, and he just gets clocked upside the head.
Yeah, it's pushed up way too far with that lack of vision that he had. It's pretty easy for Elysian to go flying in behind and pick up a kill there.
And the blue buff goes over to Lee Sin. A little tragic that the Jace is not going to wind up getting that additional mana sustain item, but it does give him enough gold to go back and pick up a Ghost Blade for himself. So we will see Jace kind of favoring more of that armor penetration build that we've seen coming out more recently.
Right, and he's going to need a lot of armor penetration to do anything to Malphite, who's going to keep stacking that up over the course of the game. Malphite loves armor normally, and especially against an all-AD comp.
He's got a Sunfire cape already from those 2 kills he's got over Darius in that top lane matchup, and the slight advantage of 6 CS. Darius, in the meanwhile, has gone back and picked up his own Phage, most likely going for a Trinity Force or potentially a Black Cleaver, as we saw in the last game, right off of the bat. And even though University of Texas still has some very powerful pickouts with the Rise, with the Ashe on their side, they still kind of want to scale up. Let's not forget the Ashe wound up dying extremely early and has picked up a Cole and has not really gotten a chance to go back and spend that cash she got in the bottom lane.
Right, this is definitely the kind of game where University of Texas is totally happy letting this go later in the game. They obviously have a better comp in terms of dealing with the all-physical damage. Rise and Ashe both scale extremely well as they get opened up on. Both AD carries trading ultimates as the TP coming in as well. Yeah,
the Chain of Corruption landed, the Lantern was there as well, and the teleport actually wound up getting canceled there as Malphite was not going to wind up coming in here. Looks like he wound up getting pulled away by Darius as a tank fight goes down in the top lane. We have a bunch of trade damage coming back and forth. They're slapping each other back and forth. The Unstoppable Force comes out from Malphite. It looked desperation. Noxian Guillotine comes out as it looks like 2 kills picked up from the side of UT as there was a kill from Karma on the bottom side against that Thresh.
The fight's going all over the map in favor of University of Texas. Looked like Darius might have flashed in to stop that teleport from coming in up 50 Shades of Kappa. Not needed too much because things still went sour in the bot lane, and that just made things go bad up top too.
Yeah, we're actually going to get a chance to see once again. This was a fight in the bottom that was engaged by the University of North Carolina, and it looked like it was going extremely well for them, but Varus took a lot of trade damage in here. We see the Chain of Corruption is going to go down after the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, before the Enchanted Crystal Arrow to start the entire fight off. And even though the top lane teleport didn't wind up happening, Perfect was just able to chase down Lord Apollos, and we see coming in from the river Rek'Sai just stalking around the side. This was not going to wind up working out well for UNC at all.
Nice fadeaway Q there to pick up the kill. Not too shabby.
Yeah, Rek'Sai didn't even do anything there. It was just all Karma.
Rek'Sai was there to observe it. Took note. This is what happened.
Well, at least hear it. I don't think Rek'Sai can see.
It was underground. He felt it.
Yeah. The presence was made known.
Yeah.
Actually, we have 2 blind junglers in this game.
I mean, Rek'Sai can see. It's just underground.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
I always thought it was like an echolocation thing.
What's the lore? Well, I mean, like when you're above ground, you have eyes.
Well, you have I guess you have very limited vision. I guess that's true. Maybe she's just very bad at seeing things like me.
Not me. I got perfect vision, Tom.
That's why I have glasses and you don't. But it looks like even though Rek'Sai may have limited vision, even she can see the opportunity to start up this dragon as UT is going to be collapsing onto the Mountain Drake. But University of North Carolina is not that far away. Enchanted Crystal Arrow, though, is going to wind up finding PME Rare Pepe's. The Mantra Q comes out from Karma, and Primate flashes forward and just eviscerates him. But on the backside, Eugen finds himself a solo AD carry and a solo kill. So they've traded AD carries 1 for 1, and now Eugen is stuck on the wrong side of the map for this one. Has to try to run through the tower, but he's getting pincer moved here. Winds up putting down the acceleration gate, but he's going to get knocked up and shot down by Primate.
Yeah, the fight is most likely over, but it doesn't look like Primate's done yet. He wants to keep chunking people out. Meanwhile, Ackerman gets some time alone on the top turret, and hopefully he's going to be able to trade this back because it looks like University of Texas will take this bottom turret with their 3-man group. 4-man group with Malphite.
Yeah, 50 Shades of Kappa's roamed all the way down from the top side here, and actually wound up using the Realm Warp to just zone away any sort of incoming pressure from the side of UNC. And now it's really just a race. No towers have gone down yet. Ackerman's wailing away on that tower by himself. Is he going to wind up getting the tower before UT can? Looks like the answer is going to be no. University of Texas get themselves 2 kills, get themselves the first tower.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty sad. Ackerman definitely wanted to get some gold back in his pocket to catch up to the Malphite. Solo turret gold would have been a pretty useful thing to get. Unfortunately, doesn't get it, and it looks like Texas may still want to do this dragon, though North Carolina is back up and looking to contest it.
There's no teleport available for Ackerman, which is very key here, and there is an Ashe left alone on the top side of the map. We'll see if Ackerman's just going to recall if he's going to try to fight that Ashe, but at the same exact time, that means that there's no primary tank or big threat coming out from the side of UNC. Almost snipes it away with a piercing arrow from Varus, but Cute Mankey, too good on the smite, secures the dragon.
Yeah, and thinking back on that play that started all this off, the way that railgun went down was pretty sad, actually. He shot the arrow, which was great, and it looked like he was too busy, admiring his own handiwork, because the Jace was on a ward. He should have seen him coming around the river there, but he just walks straight into him and gets blown up.
That's why cool guys don't look at explosions. They just look at what's in front of them.
So they're not actually cool, they're just safe.
Yeah.
Because they're running away from the explosion. They should look at where they're running rather than look back.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess it's all in the name of safety. But unfortunately for Railgun, I guess he lived up to his name, was just kind of haphazard and just fired and kept looking at it.
Yeah, unfortunately that's the case. Now we see that the bot lane of University of Texas has flipped up to the top side of the map, going to slowly push in that wave and hopefully take down the top outer turret of North Carolina.
And meanwhile, North Carolina's matching with looks like trying to get the solo laners versus solo laners. Ackerman, though, is still 2 levels down for 50 Shades of Kappa. That means that Eugen's going to be coming around. There is the Void Assault coming in from the side of Cute Mankey, coming in, just throwing out a Prey Seeker and dissuading that double team on the Malphite.
A little surprised to see they didn't try to turn that back. They had the Malphite ult, and obviously he's got a lot of armor, so he's pretty resistant to whatever they would try and do. And with the follow-up knock of the Rek'Sai, you think maybe they can win that 2v2, but they didn't quite know where Lee Sin is, so I can respect them playing it a little safe.
Yeah, well, Primate did wind up finding Lee Sin in the mid lane, missed on the second overload there. It's actually Cute Mankey finds himself a Eugen, did not hit the Prey Seeker, but does get the knockup. Eugen's going to be trying to get away, but there's a Realm Warp coming in from Rise, forces the flash back over the wall. Darius, in the meantime, pulls in 50 Shades of Kappa, with the unstoppable forces there to knock down the Jace. Now they've Rune Prison up Ackerman, and this Darius is not going to be having fun time. He winds up flashing away over the wall, and with it looks like nobody willing to flash from the side of University of Texas. They're going to take that.
Yeah, I mean, that was a great flash ult by Malphite to make sure that they locked down Jace long enough to finish him off. They forced the flash out of Ackerman as well, so pretty successful play for them.
Yeah, now it's really on UNC to kind of stem the bleeding just a little bit. They've moved their duo lane into the mid side of the map. Railgun, in the meantime, had been pushing up that top side, although PME Rare Pep is 2-2-0 compared to the Ashes 1-3-2. Has that CS advantage. Ash has not been able to pop her cull yet, so there is still a little bit in the advantage of UNC, even though the gold lead still reflects for UT.
I mean, ideally what North Carolina would like to do here is stop getting picked off in their jungle like that.
Barely surviving.
Barely. And then they want to set up a 1-3-1 basically with their Varus wave clearing mid and the Jace and Darius, just split pushing down the side lanes, but it is pretty hard.
Ooh, Theo Pinson.
Not safe. Not safe to recall there. That's one of the things that tilts coaches the most, is recalling in unsafe spots. They're going to lose their mid lane turret off the back of it as well. Pepe gets hit by an arrow. He's going to drop.
Man, the UT team is just nailing these skill shots. Primate's going to tank up the tower, and he'll go down as Eugen kind of comes on the back side of this. He does knock away Cute Mankey, forces them not to really take that tunnel. Now the Threshold comes out, and that's a double kill picked up for the Jace, so he's getting going here. The minions, in the meantime, will take down that mid lane tower, so they're able to get that. The acceleration gate, shock blast, the flash flake coming up from Lord Apollos. Is this going to be a third kill picked up by Jace? He takes to the skies. He's wailing. He takes the next shot, and Perfect goes down. That's 3 kills for Jace.
That's a good turnaround for them. That's exactly what they need, and looks like they're going to try and transition into an objective, going for the Rift Herald here. Can we make it 6 games in a row, Tom, with Rift Herald going down? I'm
really going to need to petition that the Rift Herald just gets a University League of Legends Campus Series jersey, although there's a teleport coming in right here, so they might not actually be able to finish it off. I mean, this is 50 Shades of Kappa. The hook comes in. There is an unstoppable force. It resets. He does get pulled in there by the Darius, but he is going to wind up going unstoppably onto Eugen. The Lantern's out. Can he take it? He gets out. In the meantime, Railgun gets knocked away by Theo Pinson, and now this is UNC trying to get it. The hook lands on Railgun, and he goes down. And now 50 Shades of Kappa is stuck between, well, himself and a hard place. He gets rooted up there by the Chains of Corruption. That's a shutdown for Varus. Now Cute Mankey's trying to run away. The Rift Herald gets in the fray as well, and Ackerman and the Rift Herald take down Cute Mankey. UT Primate trying to run away. The Tempest, the Cripple isn't there. The Karma comes in, puts the Inspire shield down, going to speed up and protect Primate, but Rare Pepe is just dancing with disaster right there. Barely gets out as Primate and Perfect try to turn that around.
What a great last minute for North Carolina, being able to just snowball through a handful of kills, and the TPs that come in from University of Texas just handing more over. We got to take a look at exactly how that happened.
Yeah, this is insane, and I'll start it off with our buddy, Rift Herald.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's been forcing around Rift Herald. This is the first time we've seen a team actually contest it, but surprisingly, it still goes good for North Carolina here. The ultimate by Kappa, not enough to get him the kill on Eugen, who's able to take the Lantern from Thresh and get away. And then some nice Qs here out of Lee Sin, sneaking them past everyone. He flashed almost right on top of the Malphite, but still snuck it past him to hit the Ashe. And then it's a chase down by the rest of the team as they kind of funnel in one by one, trying to help each other out, but each member of Texas going down one at a time. And like you said, Rift Herald, don't mess with him. He's sick of getting killed. He wants some kills back.
Yeah, he wants to be back in the LCS where nobody really bothers him. He's just able to kind of appear, like run his errands and go back into his hole. But the chase down after that, we did see Rare Pepe's getting extremely, extremely low. But like you mentioned, the last minute for UNC, those are the things they were looking for. They didn't have the strength on Darius to really kind of put him in that successful 1-3-1 situation. But now he's picked up Merc Treads. He has a spare. He has the Spectre's Cowl. Thank you. And he has the not the full Spirit Visage yet, and the Black Cleaver. So now he might be able to kind of stand up to the Malphite. But there is still a 2-level discrepancy, which is keeping 50 Shades of Kappa ahead in this matchup.
Yeah, I don't know if I go that far. 2 completed armor items and working on the 3rd versus just the Black Cleaver to help him get through that. It will help, but I think not quite enough because both the Sunfire Cape and Iceborne Gauntlets contribute to 50 Shades of Kappa's damage. And here, Ackerman's a little caught out. I think he's going to go down once they get the double ult up, double knock up.
The Unstoppable Force coming out and hitting up both of them, and then the rotation from Primate coming up from the mid lane. Had no idea that Cute Mankey was there. It's a little unfortunate, but UNC are going to be proactive and take the Mountain Drake at the same time, but they're going to seed that top tower. Yeah,
it is good to see them trading objectives, but ultimately the gold lead is the problem right now, and getting that Mountain Drake doesn't mean anything if you're not actually able to hit turrets or objectives. So while it might seem like a great trade on paper, University of Texas or University of North Carolina might not be able to do anything with that Mountain Drake.
It's very true. We'll have to see what their next steps are going to be because they were able to win that chaotic fight. When Rift Herald was on their side, that was great for them, but it looks like now that Rift Herald's gone away for the first time without dying, University of Texas are taking a Baron sneak here. There's no vision from the side of University of North Carolina. Looks like there's no reaction either. They're just trying to take this free tower, wondering where the heck they are. The roar of Baron Nashor as he is slain goes out, and now they know that Baron buff is on the side of UT.
Yeah, you saw a really late danger ping out of North Carolina onto the Baron buff, basically saying, oops, we forgot this was on the map now. Seemed like they might have lost track of time, thought that the trade would be all they need to do, but they try and go for more, forcing around the bot turret of University of Texas, and Texas is like, fine, take it, we'll take the Baron.
Are you trying to tell me that teams are okay giving away Rift Herald, but they're not okay giving away Baron Nashor?
Potentially.
I don't know, man. I've seen Rift Herald heavily prioritized in these sort of games.
Yeah, it's true, though most of them have been free. Texas was forcing around the top inner turret, but North Carolina is here in time to defend.
Yeah, and actually we see a ZZ Rat portal picked up by the side, or Zorat portal, however you want to do it. I like the ZZ Rat. It's like a ZZ top. But Cute Mankey's picked that one up for himself, so that's going to be the change ZZ Rat. So while it doesn't necessarily have the same constant pushing power as the old version, it does have the immediate siege effect as those minions are going to be dealing more damage, but travel shorter distance.
Yeah, I don't think he knows the new range because he put it out of range of the turret up top. So if you can see on your mini-map right here, you're going to see a lot of little red dots go run down but not reach the turret. I'm not quite sure what he was thinking when he put it there.
I think they used it to take the outer tower, and then once they secured that, they ran to Baron, seeing nobody there, and then just continued to push that lane, having the ZZ Rat help push the minions up. And now with this Baron buff, they're able to rotate between those two sides. Rek'Sai's up here with the ZZ Rat portal protecting it. They take that mid lane tower, but ooh, a Dragon's Rage coming out there from Theo Pinson. Another ZZ Rat gets put down at the same time. It summons Malphite coming in from the side as Perfect picks up the first kill after that Unstoppable Force. Ackerman is now caught away from his team, cannot catch that lantern. Cute Mankey, is he gonna bleed down? No, he was underground, so he's regenerating HP, stays alive.
Yeah, good use of his Fury, using that passive to generate some HP back, just kept him alive from the burn from Darius. And here, Texas is gonna keep pushing down this top turret. Looks like they're gonna be able to pick it up.
Yeah, Lord Apollos throws out a good hook, lands with the Curse of Colossus Shield, and actually able to pick up Railgun because of that one, but it is going to be at the cost of Thresh's life. But Eugen takes to the skies and gets himself a double kill, 7-3-3 on this Jays. Black Cleaver, Ghostblade, is it going to be enough to defend this tower against Baron buff minions, though? Survey says no, as it looks like Primate and Perfect are going to continue pushing down onto this top inhibitor.
Man, Railgun is having a rough game, getting hit by everything there. The Thresh hook came out of nowhere. Actually, not quite out of nowhere. It's on his screen. He probably could have flashed it, but he took it instead.
Yeah, he's maybe just baiting in the Thresh. Thought he was going to die, but the Curse of the Colossus came out. And Eugen biting off where he can choose. Theo Pinson trying to run away from his own base to get some distance between himself and the opposing team. But Jace can't ward hop like Lee Sin can, and Jace goes down at the cost of that.
Been a pretty crazy game. 30 kills in 24 minutes, basically. University of Texas has come out on top, though they did have a little bit of a shaky play in the mid-game.
So Ackerman needs to know that they were there. His jungler just ran away from that side. He's got to be extremely careful. And oh, they hit the blast plant and make Lee Sin go over the wall, but Looks like they're not going to wind up chasing after him. Instead, Malphite's going to teleport in, picks up his Iceborne Gauntlets, has pieces for what could potentially be a Randuin's Omen, has a lot of armor on his side with the Ninja Tabby as well. Baron buff is still available, and they're just going to rotate around, take every single outer tower on the side of UNC's map.
Yeah, this is a huge creep wave to try and ride in. Unfortunately, the Ashe isn't quite there yet, who's your ideal turret taker. But University of Texas can set up however they want and slowly work these turrets down. I wouldn't be surprised to see someone return to the top side of the map, try and finish off that inhib as well. But right now, it looks like they want to do a 5-man grouped up push on the bot lane.
Yeah, with no teleport available, although granted the fact that one side of the enemy's base to the other is not the largest distance, and the one that might be split pushing is a very tanky Malphite that can take a couple of tower shots and surprise people behind them. Looks like they're going to try to stay grouped up. The Rek'Sai is actually the one that moves towards the mid lane. Going to be pressuring down with that ZZ Rot portal, of course. This is the power of the short-range ZZ Rot, where you can really try to siege down that tower, and Eugen going to be making a beeline straight for it, though does not want that thing sieging down.
Yep, and then we see Rek'Sai continue his little rotations around the map, goes up to top lane, tries to get that one pushing in his favor as well. As the Baron buff has now timed out, no more big annoying minions and the cannon creeps that shoot from out of range. Looks like University of Texas with that Baron buff going off will back away.
Yeah, but overall the usage of the Baron and their quote-unquote Baron power play there, they were able to take all 3 outer towers, they're able to take an inhibitor tower in the top lane and just provide infinite amounts of map pressure. And look at the side, look at all the red dots on the enemy side of the jungle. That bottom side is completely warded up. Rek'Sai has a tunnel system leading into the blue buff, blue jungle side, blue side, if you will.
The blue.
The blue.
The blue top inhib is going down. University of North Carolina is losing that one. They engage onto 50 Shades of Kappa, but he's a pretty tanky Malphite. Not quite able to take him down yet.
And he gets kicked away, and he actually does use the Unstoppable Force to get himself out of there. PME Repepes had a decent chain of corruption to try to get everybody down. The Shockwave with the acceleration gate blast coming out from Eugen, trying to snipe down that Malphite, but Malphite is extremely tanky, and the Ghost is popped by Primeape. He's going in. Primeape and Mankey, they get the Pokemon duo down, and they're able to take Eugen down. That's the biggest Fed member on the side of UNC out of the fight. Ackerman is now stuck between a rock and a hard place. And
what an ultimate from Rise.
Oh man, they just go right
Surprise.
behind them, and all of a sudden everybody's in the back line. A triple kill picked up a Rise. Theo Pin's going to go down for a quadra kill. Are they going to give the penta to him? He's trying to take down Ackerman. He takes down 50 Shades of Kappa. They're trying to give it to Primeape. They're trying to keep him alive, but he's healing off of everybody.
Oh,
he misses the overload, gets in a melee range.
The penta.
But the penta kill's picked up by Primeape. University of Texas, they get the ace. They're going to get the base, and it looks like they're going to take the series.
And that's why he's Primeape and not a Mankey. That's the evolved form. You get to see the power of it right there on Rise.
11, 2, and 3 on Primeape, 3, 3, and 11 on Mankey. Overall, 22 kills for the side of University of Texas. UNC definitely put up a good fight in this one. Had some stuff around the Rift Tower. Looks like they're actually not done yet, as Primeape, he may have gotten himself a swag pentakill, but he's going to get shut down as PME Rare Pepes takes that one. And with 2 inhibitors down, UNC, I thought this was over, but I'm wrong.
No, I think Primeape wants another pentakill, so he's going to feed himself over there. Give the University of North Carolina a little bit longer to hold on, a little bit of false hope so he can come in and crush it again.
All right, well, now University of Texas, they didn't end the game there. They weren't able to end the game there with the respawn timers coming in just a little bit faster than normal, but they don't really lose any beats either. They're just going to wind up rotating around, taking the Ocean Drink, and just denying as much as possible for UNC to try to take on the map.
Right, I think University of Texas is going to play a little bit slower here. They could potentially wait for Baron buff to come back up in 10 seconds and then grab that, or they can go straight bot lane. I think either option is okay, but personally I prefer going for the Baron. Just take everything you can before going up to close the game.
Yeah, with both those inhibitors down relatively fresh, that means it's going to be 2 waves of super minions. They could take the Baron at their leisure. They could just move down and attempt to end the game. We'll have to see what they actually wind up doing. The Realm Warp is available for Rise. They could potentially wind up going behind the enemy team again. That was definitely an interesting sight to see. All of a sudden your backline is in their backline, causing absolute chaos. It looks like the side of UNC is trying to establish some sort of Baron vision just to deny the fact that University of Texas can kind of walk up and take that. But they may be overextending just a little bit. Cute Mankey is just going to get into a duel with Theo Pinson. Has a little bit of support on the backside, but in comes Perfect. Now Theo Pinson has to use the Dragon's Rage kit to just knock him away. 50 Shades of Kappa in the meantime is holding the rest of the team at bay. The box comes out, a flash forward from Cute Mankey. The Redemption goes down. Looks like that's going to be the one from the University of Texas. The one that follows afterwards is 50 Shades of Kappa. Unstoppable Forces into the fray. Gets taken down to half HP. the side of University of Texas, they're trying to brute force it through the areas that they've already kind of taken down, but the last Nexus tower goes down just to the Winions coming out from UT.
I mean, that was a fight that was 4v5 the entire time. Rise was just split pushing down the bot lane. And you can see that University of North Carolina still couldn't get anything done. They're all physical comps struggling to get through the front line of University of Texas. As once again, they open up onto the Malphite. He doesn't take any damage.
Nah, he's dropping below about half HP, though. He has no ultimate available, but in the meantime, Primate's able to take down PME. Rare Pepe's 180 carry down. Ackerman winds up going down as well, so there's no front line left for the side of University of North Carolina. 7-5-4 for Jace, but I don't know if he's going to be able to save what's left of the UNC base. The final inhibitor goes down. There's no Nexus towers whatsoever, and a Realm Warp coming in just to put the minions into the base and tank up some tower shots and bring everybody into the Nexus. University of Texas looks like they're going to be taking this one over the University of North Carolina in a 2-0 series as soon as they decide to take the last hits on the Nexus.
I gotta tell you, Tom, that's not a very nice thing to do. You use your minions all game long, they help you out, they throw themselves mercilessly at your opponents, and how do you reward them? You port them to their death in the fountain.
To be fair, Rise was pushing from an opposite lane. He wound up bringing minions that would not have been in the family photo at the end of the game directly to the Nexus to be part of it.
They were in the base already. They just wanted to close the game out, and he puts them in the fountain. That's heartless.
Well, no one ever said that Primates were known for their heart. They're fighting type Pokemon, so all they really know how to do is, well, fight.
You're right, Tom. You're absolutely right. Anyways, that game as a whole, once again, going in University of Texas's favor. It was a little bit not as clean as the first game. I think you saw a more controlled early game that ultimately ended up going in their favor. This game was very, very crazy with a number of seemingly random fights here around the mid lane. They're going to get a dive off on this mid turret as the Lee Sin barely gets away. We're going to see cute Mankey end up sniping him with his next Prey Seeker, but then they don't just back off after that. They end up keep fighting around this.
Yeah, and this is just cute Mankey getting a cute little kill for himself as he winds up tunneling forward, and the Lee Sin just stops his recall and then keeps moving. But that was just a little bit of a cheeky kill, but then
see the Ash Arrow coming in from all the way on the top side of the map. It's going to snipe Rare Pepe's, which is like, all right, it's go time, but no one actually ends up finishing off the turret here. It's going to keep pelting them on the back.
Yeah, and because of that, even though Cute Mankey's able to pick up a kill on PME, Rare Pepe's, Eugen comes in on the Jace. He was a monster on this Jace all game, but this is where he really starts to take off. He gets himself his first double kill here after some really good hooks coming in from Lord Apollos, and they're able to clean up Karma on the back end and get that third kill.
Right, and this is what we were saying where it wasn't as clean as the first game. I mean, there were a couple shaky things in there as well, but this one in particular, because right after that, they end up going and they force around the Rift Herald, and then they TP in and give up some more kills then, and it looks like, uh-oh, University of North Carolina might be back into the game.
That is until a Baron buff goes relatively undetected, and then University of Texas is able to really just gain control of the game once again. Even though the chaotic fights looked like they were going in favor of UNC, when the chaos was on the side of UT and they were the ones causing those things, Rise gets a pentakill.
Yeah, I mean, once they managed to crack the base, you saw some pretty crazy plays come out of University of Texas. Here they start out and we get into a little bit of a skirmish right in front of the base, and the tank 50 Shades of Kappa on Malphite ends up having to use his ult to get away, and that says, okay, UNC, you're free to go and start trying to pick a fight now. They're missing one of their key engage abilities, but that's not the case. Rise is plenty happy just ghosting at your face and rooting you up to start this fight off, and he's going to pick up Eugen basically right away, but the highlight, of course, is the ultimate that he's going to use to get onto the back line of University of North Carolina.
Yeah, everybody thinks they're safe just flashing away into their base, but the Realm Warp from right behind, all of a sudden, surprise! And Rise just picks up that double kill, triple kill, ending it with a penta given to him by his team.
Yeah, it took them a little bit of time to get it. He picks up the Lee Sin here, but then the Darius isn't playing along so nice. Gets a huge shield. He's going to be healing off his Qs.
Kills the Malphite.
Yeah. Primeape actually misses a Q. Not rushing too much to finish it. Yeah, it would have been nice if he could have just got there. Whatever. It ends up going over the penta, but then they overstay once again. Primeape gives the kill back, but I mean, at that point, the game's mostly over. It's just about waiting for the respawns to come back in and closing it.
Yeah, and UNC definitely put up a very, very strong fight in the second game. The first game, they only got one kill. That game, it looked really, really close until that 22, 23-minute Baron Snake where UT just kind of ran away with it after that.
Yeah, UNC doesn't look like they're quite on the same page with their map plays. They had that where they were forcing around bottom, take the dragon, trade for top turret. It's okay, but then they didn't think about the Baron threat. Now that's past 20 minutes.
Yeah, so that's going to be it for today's games, but let's look ahead at the schedule for next week because we've got Harvard going up against, well, your familiar school of RIT. Yep. Last year, Harvard made it to the group stage, and we got to watch them lose to crosstown rivals at Boston University.
It'll be an interesting week to see how their team has evolved, especially as they face the much higher-seeded RIT. It's a tech school, we're kind of nerdy, we're probably pretty good at video games.
I mean, are you pretty good at video games?
I mean, I'm on a desk talking about them for a living, so I'd hope I'm all right.
I hope you're pretty good too, because I've been trusting your judgment this entire time.
I've been making everything up, Tom.
Oh, well, that's our show for today, everybody. Thanks for watching, and we'll hope to see you next week. To get behind the bottom lane here is going to get the Rune Prison down on the Lord Apollos. The Empowered One's going to keep him snared up for 2 extra seconds. In the meantime, though, PME Rare Pepes is stuck between a rock and a hard place, tries to get the ace in the hole off, but blocked by Rise. First blood goes over to Perfect, and Eugen, as he's trying to come down, runs into Zach, who is doing the dragon. The slingshot knocks him up. Looks like he's going to want it going down. Maybe the gold card comes out. Mankey's going to flash. He stays alive. But this is going horribly for UNC. The Zach passive is going to get popped, so his cells will divide. Now in comes Twisted Fate. Eugen comes in with the red card, tries to blow up the Zach. The blob looks like they're not even going to be taken down. The teleport was used to save him, so while they wind up picking up Ash, Zach is still alive, and he's bouncing all over the back lines. Rise comes in with the ghost, and he's able to clean up the last one on the backside, letting the wave kind of push back on them in the mid lane. Meanwhile, Eugen goes in, and they pinball Primate back and forth.
Getting slapped around the mid lane.
Tanking, the ghost is popped by Primate. He's going in. Primate and Mankey, they get the Pokemon duo down, and they're able to take Eugen down. That's the biggest Fed member on the side of UNC out of the fight. Ackerman is now stuck between a rock and a hard place. And
what an ultimate from Rise.
Oh man, they just go right behind them, and all of a sudden everybody's in the back line. A triple kill picked up for Rise. Theo Pin's going to go down for a quadra kill. Are they going to give the penta to him? He's trying to take down Ackerman. He takes down 50 Shades of Kappa. They're trying to give it to Primate. They're trying to keep him alive, but he's healing off of everybody. He misses the overload, gets into melee range. But Texas looks like they're going to take the series.